Hey guys, how's it going? Jacob here with Stock Gains, and welcome to another trade recap. I'm in obviously a different location this time, but I try to take my stuff wherever I go to make sure that I can make these videos and trade properly for you guys, because I know you're looking out for these trades every single day. And so our first trade this morning, we had 3 for 3 today that were absolutely fantastic. Our first trade this morning was on CHNR. We had a high watch in the morning, and then we got a fill about 420, set a stop for 350, ended up making a longer stop for 320, but got an average fill of about $4, and then a sell at 5 and 550 for our final sell. So what I noticed out of the gate is we had this incredible volume pre-market, and it pushed the stock over 580, and that's a great sign that it might break out again once the market opens. And so what happened was I knew that we might have a lower, it might trade lower at open just because it already made this big run. So really what you want to do is right at open, you want to wait. Like, never trade the first 5 minutes. Honestly, never trade the first 15 minutes because it's going to be super volatile. So you want to wait until a play presents itself. And so as you can see here, we waited this out and waited for a higher low from pre-market. So we had this first higher low set, it extends, had our high, and now we wait until it finds support to get back in. As you can see here, we actually got in around $4, and that was because of this initial support, and then it ended up breaking off and then finding support again, kind of on I would say this is a 21 EMA here, right below VWAP. It started finding support, and once this candle ended up closing here, and the next one opened above and right at the same close level, I had a feeling that it might end up catching support and continue, and that's exactly what it did. So that's why we kind of set our stop a little bit lower. We set it below the end of this candle here at, right here, 320. It's right below. It's a great little stop. That's our higher low there. And so here we go. It ends up finding support, breaking up, rejecting VWAP again around $4. More volume came in, and then we eventually finally had our push and then resistance on the same level it had this morning. So that's another thing you want to look out for. If you are buying a higher low, trying to get an initial breakout again, then you want to have a sell at first near the previous resistance, because you don't know if it's going to reject that resistance again or it's going to blow right through it. And the next trade we go over, you'll see that it blows right through it. But overall, we were waiting for that higher low to set. We waited on that trade, and it ended up hitting perfectly. Let me actually bring up the volume on this, because that definitely helps a lot. But yeah, you can see this increase in volume start to come up, and then it obviously just exploded through those lows. And so yeah, our next trade that we had was on IMRN again. As you can see here, we were looking for it back over 11. We ended up seeing a pullback, so we got in the $10 950 range. The stop was right under 950 at 949, and then we ended up selling at 12 to 1250 was our final sell. So IMRN. Okay, so what we were watching here is we saw this initial, like it did the other day, in and out of halts. Okay, I'm going to make sure my camera doesn't turn off here. It was in and out of halts all morning, so we were waiting for it to settle down, and this was about the same time. As you can see, those alerts came through about the same time before. But it was in and out of halts here in the morning, ended up selling off, but again, we had a higher low being set. And so, as you can see here, 950 is exactly where it bounced from. So we had our stop right under 950, entered at $10, which is this level right here, and then we had an extension all the way up to 1550, like a crazy move. Honestly, with the Lux Algo that I'm looking at here, I should have held through this, because none of these candles ended up dipping too far. And that's what's great about Lux. It should keep you in a trade longer, but a $10 to $12.50 trade is $2.50 is a great gain per share. So we ended up getting out $12.50. Some held over 15, but the reason I got out around $12 is because we were having that same rejecting area early on. So yeah, that same resistance that we had, that was the level, like I said earlier, that I ended up getting out because of the previous resistance we had there. But as you can see, it blew right through that previous resistance, which it happens like that all the time. And then we had a high over 1550. So always look for the higher lows, wait in the morning, look for support, have your stop right underneath that higher low, these wicks. Because look, we got in at 10, our stop was 949. If that stop would have triggered, that's only a 50 cent loss per share. And that's way better than like a, $2-3 loss per share, like that $3-4 gain that we could have had on this trade in the first place. And so that's always a great place to put stops, is right at higher lows. So right below higher lows. And so then we had a option trade this morning at 9 a.m. I want to go over on SPY. And that was from this level right up here. So right at the beginning of the day, we saw a breakout pre-market. So you can see the resistance it had here. Oh, you can't see that. Hold on. You can see the resistance it had here and then here. We ended up breaking out pre-market. And then what was interesting is right at 309 here, we had this huge sell-off candle that started the complete downtrend. As you can see, we entered puts, and then we literally just held through it, because the reason we did was because yesterday we had this like over minus 5% move here. Like this move was insane. It would have been over 300% if you would have gotten in at the initial move. But that's why we held through, is because we thought it might have a move like it did before. And so we were holding until we saw enough support to get out. And it ended up being a 100% trade. So as you can see here, we have this initial resistance, breaks out of resistance, falls below, tries to find support on the previous resistance, which is a good sign for an uptrend, but ended up breaking out, setting a lower high. So you can see here, here's your high, here's your lower high, breaks below. Now, this broke below VWAP and that 21 EMA, which is something to also watch out for, especially when it comes to resistance or support. So as you can see, we set a lower high here that was still above the previous resistance we had pre-market, but it broke through that initial bounce and then came up and had resistance on that exact same resistance level that it was having in the pre-market. This is why pre-market levels are so important, and why on the watch list I put the breakout and breakdown points, because those levels come from pre-market, and if you trade off those levels, you can get very good trades and get in early as well. And so yeah, if you trade off a pre-market, you can get some really good trades. We ended up entering right here on this candle going up because we saw resistance on the same resistance marks in pre-market, and then we ended up just holding through this entire down move that we had. It broke the initial bounce from pre-market pretty easily, had resistance on that same level, and then we got out actually on this candle here. It was around 303 to 3025 for 85% gains. You could have ended up getting over 100% holding through that last candle, but it was a fantastic move. Now, that was it. I was done for the day. I was done trading at that moment. Because it's Friday and I like to just sit back and watch if I get 3 good trades in a row. And so there were essentially better other entries. And so with seeing how volatile this was and it wanted to go to the downside for the day, you could have gotten another put entry here on this next resistance. So one, you got VWAP sitting right there, waiting to become resistance. You got the 21 EMA, which didn't really come into effect. It usually works on trends or if it's with VWAP, but it ended up rejecting VWAP even though it broke over it. But if you look here, where it bounced this morning was the exact same level that it had resistance, and that's pre-market. That's pre-market levels. So it's at the exact same level that it had support on, is where the resistance was today. So we ended up having resistance on that 3055 again, and it ended up breaking lower. This could have probably been another 80 to 100% trade from here down. And then obviously we ended up finding support right like near 300, and then we closed above 300. So those significant levels like 300 are are always going to probably end up becoming a bounce until we get a clear break and resistance through that. But yeah, those were our trades today. I'm glad I got this done in 10 minutes. I hope this helps you guys. If you have any questions, message me in the chat room. People that are in the free chat, you can message me as well. I'll try to work with you if I can and have the time, but no matter what, I'll be focusing on our paid chat members, and I hope that we can see you guys in there at some point. So I'll see you guys later, and have a good weekend.